I always believed our marriage was something out of a fairy tale. Victor was my rock, my best friend, the man I thought I knew inside and out. We had this beautiful life we built together, full of laughter, inside jokes and dreams for the future. From the outside, we were the perfect couple, the one our friends looked up to. And for 15 years, I felt like the luckiest woman alive. But as they say, sometimes the most beautiful-looking apples are rotten on the inside. It all started subtly. A slight shift in his routine. He started working late more often. His phone became an extension of his hand, and he guarded it like it held state secrets. When I'd ask who he was texting, he'd just brush it off with a smile, saying it was just work stuff, or a funny meme from a colleague. I wanted to believe him. I really did. Doubting Victor felt like doubting the sun would rise. It just wasn't in my nature. But a small, nagging voice in the back of my mind began to whisper. It told me something was off. The man who used to share every little detail of his day with me was now becoming a stranger with a locked screen. The distance between us grew, not in miles, but in the inches on the couch, in the silence during dinner. The easy intimacy we once shared was replaced by a polite, almost formal tension. I tried to bridge the gap. I suggested date nights, weekend getaways, anything to reconnect. He'd agree, but his heart wasn't in it. He was physically present, but his mind, his attention, was somewhere else. I felt like I was living with a ghost, a phantom of the man I married. I'd lie awake at night, staring at his sleeping form, wondering what was happening to us. Was it me? Had I done something wrong? The self-doubt was eating me alive. The breaking point came on a Tuesday night. It was just a normal evening. Victor had fallen asleep early on the couch, exhausted from another long day at the office. His phone lay on the coffee table, screen down. For weeks, I had resisted the urge to look. I told myself it was a violation of his privacy, that trust was the foundation of our marriage. But that night, the foundation felt like it was already crumbling to dust. My heart was pounding in my chest, a frantic drumbeat of fear and desperation. I knew that once I crossed that line, there was no going back. But I also knew I couldn't live in this agonizing uncertainty any longer. With trembling hands, I picked up his phone. I held my breath, my fingers hovering over the screen. Miraculously, it was unlocked. It was a simple oversight on his part, but for me, it felt like fate was handing me a key. My thumb swiped open his messages, and there it was. A name I didn't recognize, Leora. The conversation history stretched back for months. My eyes scanned the words, and with each line I read, a piece of my world shattered. They weren't just messages. They were declarations of love, inside jokes that weren't ours, plans for secret meetings. He called her my sunshine, a nickname he hadn't used for me in years. They talked about their future, a future that didn't include me. There were photos too. Selfies of them together, smiling, looking so happy and carefree. A picture of her wearing his favorite sweater, the one I bought him for his last birthday. The air was knocked out of my lungs. It was a physical pain, a sharp, stabbing ache in my chest that made it hard to breathe. The man I loved, the man I had given 15 years of my life to, was living a double life. I sank to the floor, the phone slipping from my grasp. The room started spinning. Every memory we had ever made was now tainted. Every "I love you" he had ever said now felt like a lie. The perfect marriage I had cherished was an illusion, a beautifully constructed lie that had just come crashing down around me. I felt a wave of nausea, betrayal, and a profound, gut-wrenching sadness. The person sleeping so peacefully on the couch wasn't the man I thought he was. He was a stranger. And I had just uncovered his darkest secret. Waking him up was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, not yet. I was eerily calm, numb. I just held the phone out to him. The look on his face when he saw it, the flicker of panic followed by a wave of resignation, confirmed everything. There were no denials, no excuses. Just the cold, hard truth hanging in the air between us. The conversation that followed was a blur of fragmented sentences, half-hearted apologies, and the crushing weight of reality. He said it just happened, that he was confused. But his confusion had a name, Leora, and a face that was now burned into my memory. The days that followed were a living nightmare. I moved into the guest room, creating a physical barrier to match the emotional chasm that now separated us. Every corner of our home, once filled with happy memories, now felt like a crime scene. I packed his things. Seeing his clothes, his books, the little trinkets we'd collected on our travels, was like sorting through the artifacts of a dead relationship. It was over. I knew it with every fiber of my being. There was no going back from this. The trust was not just broken, it was obliterated. Deciding to leave was both the scariest and the most empowering decision I have ever made. It meant stepping out of the life I knew, away from the future I had planned, and into a terrifying unknown. But staying? Staying would have meant betraying myself. It would have meant accepting a life where I was second best, a life built on a foundation of lies. I deserved more than that. We all do. Finding out about the affair was devastating, but in a strange way it was also liberating. It freed me from the illusion. It forced me to see the truth, no matter how painful, and to choose myself. Rebuilding my life hasn't been easy, but it has been worth it. I am learning to trust again, starting with trusting myself. My story is not one of a broken woman, but of a woman who found her strength in the wreckage. If you are going through something similar, please know you are not alone, and there is light and healing on the other side of the pain. Thank you for listening. Please like this video and subscribe for more stories.